I'm George Finestein. Welcome to City Hall, and you're watching Real Paranormal Television.
How do we find the answers to life after death? And what do we do with the answers when we actually find them?
Real Paranormal Television.
With your host, Grayson Schmidt.
I've been an investigator and researcher of the paranormal for over 25 years, and I've been able to investigate some amazing places. But it's not just the places. I've been able to work with some amazing people too. We seek out the answers and get behind the scenes of real paranormal investigations. From orbs to Ouija boards, we will be discussing the hot topics of the paranormal world to try to find out the truth, to explore why we are here, and where do we go when we die. Is this all? Or do we move on to somewhere else? Just what exactly lies beyond this thin veil of life?
Real Paranormal Television.
Welcome to Real Paranormal Television. I'm going to be taking you guys on an adventure this time to a really incredible building. It's someplace I've been able to investigate over the last few years. This is some raw video from when I was investigating around City Hall, just to give you an idea of some of the areas. I mean, we got up on the roof, we got down into the basement, into the catacombs, into the power rooms, hidden staircases, abandoned elevator shafts. I mean, just incredible. Crawled around up in the attic, and we had some really interesting captures. Seems that I picked up evidence of a couple spirits in that building, and this is also concurrent with other happenings that have taken place in that building over the years.
And it's been there for almost that long. Like 40, 50 years? Wow.
What? Is Grayson still wearing that thing? The rubble man over there?
It's the elevator. It's stuck like right up there. Yes.
You get all kind of EVPs in that? Weird stuff. No.
Philadelphia City Hall is an incredible place, but not only that, it's filled with some really incredible people. And one of those people is my friend George Finestein. He's one of Philadelphia's finest. He's the founder of 215 Paranormal, and I was able to interview him one day over there at City Hall, and we had a blast. It was so incredible. And my family was there with me. They got to look around while I did the interview with George, and we just had such a great time. I love George to death. He's not only a good friend, I consider him family. I love investigating with him, and I want you guys to take a look at that interview.
Good morning, George. We're here at beautiful City Hall in Philadelphia, and we're with George Finestein, and we are going to ask him some questions about not only working here, but also about some of the very strange happenings that happen here at City Hall. George, how long have you worked here at City Hall?
Worked here since December 2007, and I came in with the mayor, Mayor Michael Nutter, when he first got here. So, been here for quite a few years.
How have you enjoyed working here? Has there been anything interesting that's taken place here while you've worked here?
Oh, this is such a great building. There's so much going on in here, in this part of the world, and the netherworld, if you will. We have I see shadows all the time, every day, like a quick darkening and a quick movement, and sometimes a mist. Mists are pretty relevant too. But another thing that happened to me, actually twice, is a young girl, I heard her laugh twice in the room next to us, room 201, which is a definite future investigation. So,
Can you tell me a little bit more about the spirit of this little girl?
well, apparently years ago, at the turn of the century, there was a family supposedly living in the basement. Don't know how true that is, don't know what happened to them or the little girl. I was talking to the tour guide here, and she was the one who gave me the information. So, but the little girl's laugh was very cool. It was in the room next to us, 201, right behind a microphone. They were setting up they had an event set up the week before, and I was going in to check the doors, and I'm walking through, and I hear this interference, like if somebody's standing behind or real close to a microphone, and I'm looking because I don't see anybody there. And I said, "Hello, is anybody there?" And I hear a little girl laugh. And it happened to me twice. It just didn't happen like 2 weeks apart. So, and it also happened to the officer who works 3 to 11 here. So he won't go in the room anymore. He's afraid of it.
Now, we were on an investigation here about a year and a half ago, I'd say, and we actually down in the basement caught the little girl maybe laughing, and one of the investigators was laughing, and I heard on the EVP that she was saying that that's annoying. Is she perky? I mean, does she tend to be friendly, or does she try to scare people?
No, she definitely seems to be very friendly. So no, nothing malicious here or angry. So it seems. I did read in the history of a gentleman who was working in the building who fell to his death. But other than that, this is such an old area, so who knows what happened on this ground, this area. So.
Now, before City Hall was built here, this was like City Square, and I understand that there was a gallows in the middle of this property. Now, people were hanged here regularly, or do you know about the history of that, George?
I've heard. I don't know the exact history, but this was Center Square. There are 4 or 5 parks set aside in Philadelphia: Rittenhouse Square, Washington Square, Pennhurst Square. There's one across 8th and Race. And eventually, what happened on this ground was there was apparently a school here. There were some houses built during certain times, and then finally, 1879, they started building this building. So, opened in 1901. So there's some major history on this ground. So we don't know it all, and I'm sure there's some place to look, but I'll have to find it. I need to look. I need to find it.
So, George, do you know much about the construction of this property and how it was built, or some of the history of its construction?
Some of it. There's a site on Facebook. It's called Old Photos of Philadelphia, and if you look on there's a lot of old pictures of when it was being built, the grounds on it, the basement area, which we've been through. I know it's a big stone and mason building built to last forever. At one time, this building was actually the biggest single cement stone building in the world till they built the Kremlin in Russia. So it's the second, but this is a rock hard building, won't be going anywhere soon. But I do know some of the history. They were thinking about knocking it down in the 50s for whatever reason. Thank God they didn't. Some of the rooms are actually used for trash, some of these big, beautiful rooms. They also, in the room next to us, 201, they enclosed it. They put like a big box for offices, and they hid the ceiling, and it's just a shame, man, what people do.
George, can you tell me about how you got interested or involved in the paranormal?
Well, I've always been interested. I can't say that I've had any experiences before I got into this field, but a friend of mine, Chris Martin, I met him through my daughter she went to St. Hilary's, and he was interested too. And we actually have a group, Paranormal 215, and we've been doing it probably since mid 2000s, 2007, 2006. Homes and bars. Bars are the worst, let me tell you. Everyone's drunk and they want to know what's going on. It's crazy. But it's just something I've always been interested in. Some questions, about life and death and what happens, and it's just something I enjoy investigating, see what's going on, and hopefully we get some good stuff.
Now, George, there's been very few investigations in this building and very specialized investigators that were brought in to start taking a look at the building. What were some of the claims of activity, and why was there an actual investigation here?
Well, there was unofficially investigations here. There was nothing set. It's people are afraid to talk, so they don't, especially ones who work here, because they don't want to seem like they're weird or they say, oh my God, they're seeing things or whatever. So, but talking to some of the people, this one worker, he just fixes stuff, and, doors or whatever. I'm sure he does all that way. He's a carpenter. Before I got here and I would talk about it, he would always say that, we always felt something or somebody tugging on his shirt when he was working, and he didn't think anything of it until I started talking, and he was like, oh my God, I never thought of that. So I'm bringing everyone into the 21st century here, trying to explain that maybe there's more going on from what they see. Like adults are more closed-minded. They don't see. They're in their world trying to do what they want to do, and unfortunately, they miss a lot.
George, as an investigator, what is one of the most amazing things that you've come across in your investigations? Is there anything that just stands out over anything else?
Every time I investigate, if I feel something, if I get a headache or if I get pressure, everything that happens is actually pretty cool. Everything, because it's always something different. Something may have been recorded before, may not have been. I remember when we did the hospital, Temple, the nursing hospital. actually, me and John Levy were doing that, and I felt a pressure in the middle of my back, like a pushing. And John, the story behind that is when I saw the pictures before, there's this building, it's like a facsimile of the whole grounds itself, like the hospital, and it was obviously on display one time, and for whatever reason, it's put away in the hospital. I guess it's just a storage area. And I said, boy, that would look great on my train table. And this is before I got to the hospital, so because I'm looking at these pictures. So I get there, and we finally go, this is on the 4th floor. And as we know, 4th floor has a lot of activity. And I get up to the 4th floor with John, and John, we're asking questions, and I saw the sun. I feel this pressure on my back, like a push, not a hard push, but just like a pushing, I go this way. And so I'm walking down the hallway. Me and John turn. At first I said to John, I said, "Are you pushing my back?" I mean, I knew he wasn't, but I just didn't, wanted it for recording purposes. So we go down the hallway. I believe we went right, and I didn't feel the pressure anymore. So I said, "John, let's go the other way." Go the other way, and there was a pressure again. So finally, I guess it was a couple rooms down. I walk in, and there it was. I snap a picture, and there's a big orb around the top. And, orbs are what they are, whether people think they're dust or whatever. But I took a couple pictures. I took one picture, it was there. The next picture was gone. So pretty interesting. I mean, it doesn't prove anything, but I think the pressure on my back was pretty, for me, it was proof enough.
George, being a police officer, how do you find that lends to your ability to investigate a location? I mean, is this, being a police officer, is your training come to bear in your investigations, or do you more put all that on the shelf and go in just as a blank slate to try to find out what's going on?
Well, I think training's very important because, when we talk to people, we have to figure out what's true and what's not true, and what happened and what didn't happen, and you get two different sides of the story, sometimes 3 or 4. It's kind of comical, unfortunately. But that's how police officers, nurses, and firemen deal with stuff. With the pressures, we have to put it in some sort of, comical way, because if we didn't, we'd probably all explode. But yes, it's to look around, to see what we see, to feel what we feel, because sometimes our feelings, we can feel when somebody's, not telling the truth. And so we use the feeling also. So it's very important for us to use our investigative skills and understanding and what's real, what's not real. So very important.
But so intuition also plays a big part of this,
yes,
doesn't it?
Intuition is very important. People don't always use it. People don't think about it. They just hear something and say, "Okay, that's it," and they go. You can't do that. You have to stay. You have to investigate. You have to look. You have to do it again or again a couple times. You're not going to get something the first time. You may not even get the second or third, but the 4th or maybe the 10th time. So it's like baseball. It takes time. It's nothing like hockey where you're going up and down, or football where there's some stoppage, or soccer, but it's baseball. It's slow going, but it's a great time, great stuff.
What is your overall impression of the paranormal community at large? I mean, do you find that a lot of the people you deal with are relatively level-headed, or are there a lot of kooks?
That's a good question. 99% or 99.9% are all level-headed. You always get, somebody who's off the wagon, but or on the wagon, however you want to say it. It's all right. It's just like, you have to feel everybody out and talk to people. And so far, I really haven't had any problems with anybody. I've heard a couple things that made me laugh, but that's okay though. It's because I'm sure I say stuff that, say things that people, what the hell's, that's okay. Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
George, touching on the demonic, do you believe in demons? Do you believe that they exist?
I believe in good and evil. Whether there be heaven and hell, whether it be earth and heaven, being earth, being hell. I mean, there's so much. You know, so many people believe in so many different things, and you know, it's. Do I believe in God? Yes. And this whole thing has actually brought me into, or made me believe in God more, because it's the unknown, and so that's why I appreciate it more, because I could understand more about God and you know, good and evil, good, you know, God and evil being demonic and demons, and so, you know, yes, I do believe in demons. I do believe in evil. It's evil. It's nothing good at all.
Do your religious beliefs play any part in your investigating and or understanding of the paranormal?
No. I think I'm Jewish, so I have a lot of Catholic friends, or I don't know what the correct word is, friends who believe in Jesus Christ. So, because I know there's different spin-offs there. Sorry, that's a bad choice of word. But, yeah, I mean, if you look through some history with the Bible, and, you know, I've been curious about it, but I also know that man wrote the Bible, so through, you know, like man being the antenna from God, so knowing man, knowing how the truth doesn't always come out, like, so I kind of skeptical. The only thing said to be written by God in the Bible is the Ten Commandments, so nothing else is written by God, it's written by somebody else. So, you know, there's some very touchy issues there. I don't believe in bowing or kneeling. You know, I think we walk with God. I think the bowing and kneeling is more of a control thing. So, you know, give me your money, give me your 10%, give me whatever, this is for that, and I don't believe in that. It's like, no, that's you telling me what to do, and you're a human just like me, so, you know, it's all relevant to me.
So how does that play into the paranormal, do you think? Like, and your understanding of it, or your approach towards it?
Well, you know, one thing with these spirits is that they all believed in some sort of God or another, whether it be the cross or spiritual. I'm trying to think of the right word. The cross or the Star of David or whatever else there is as far. So, I think that if carrying a cross is something that they would recognize, or maybe something like if they have personal, like if somebody with like kids with a doll, you know, you bring a doll into an investigation, so kids say, hey, it's a doll, it's a toy, or a little toy truck.
So more like trigger objects. You mean so religious symbols being trigger objects in investigations more. That's interesting, George.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something that people recognize, live, dead or alive. They also for protection, because sometimes, again, you know, like if they are brainwashed to believe that, you know, be afraid of this if you're whatever, you know, kind of like Dracula with the cross and stuff. So, you know, bad example, but.
That's okay. So far as trigger objects are concerned, I mean, in the Old Testament, it talks about, you know, how symbology or believing in symbols is ungodly. And in Deuteronomy, specifically, there's only one true God. So wouldn't it be interesting if we're dealing with some older spirits? I mean, so if we bring a cross into an investigation and demand that the spirit leave, what if it's the spirit of a Jewish person? What if it's the spirit of a Muslim person? How do you think that plays? Does it play at all?
Quite possibly. You know, again, it comes to the unknown, because we don't know what they see. We don't know where they've been. We don't know what's in their mind. We don't even know if they're telling the truth. Again, you know, so that's something we have to be aware of. We have to be aware of, and that's why I think, you know, ability as far as psychic ability of whatever kind is always important, because I think, or intuition, because you have to pick up if they're lying. Maybe it's something they said, maybe it's something like that doesn't make sense, like they would say something and you're like what? And well, if you said you're from this time, but you brought this up, which is before your time or just happened, whatever, you don't know if they have their radar on or they see what we see, or so there's a lot of questions, and that's what's so great about this field.
What's your belief about life after death? I mean, we're experiencing the paranormal and encountering apparently spirits during our investigations. I mean, do you believe the human spirit stays to finish up old business, or are you of the belief that the human spirit moves on and we're dealing with something else?
No, I think that it's there's a couple different things. If a spirit wants to stick around or needs to stick around, they will. If they want to stick around because they're curious, or can they go back and forth? Oh, quite possible. Could it be something else, like evil trying to work its way in? That's absolutely possible too, because that's how evil works. That's why we have politicians. So, it's pretty relevant.
So do you believe the experience of death that's it? Or are we, in wait for something more? Or?
There's a lot more. But the thing is, too, I don't think a lot of it we'll be able to see or find, because that's a great mystery. So even if we come across things, I just think there's certain things that we won't ever be able to see, especially until we die. And then we die like, oh, okay, there you go. I should have done this instead of that, but then somebody said, nah, you wouldn't have been able to. It would have been changed to this or so.
Isn't that interesting how that could, really, that's
it could be possible. And, reincarnation's always there. So, there's different things about kids reliving things from a different life. So, and people, unfortunately, would push that aside, but, it's all pretty interesting.
George, do you believe that we're closer to any answers being paranormal investigators? Do you feel that we're on kind of the cutting edge as to finding out what the truth is to life after death? Or do you think people are just spinning their wheels having fun?
Well, right now, I think it's a lot of learning, a lot of, what's the word? Evolving. Okay. We're evolving. We're a species that's evolving. So everything we learn is good. Everything we learn is positive. Everything we understand. Unfortunately, right now, there's not a lot of understanding.
George, as a police officer, you carry a weapon, and you're trained to, if the need arises, to have to kill somebody. Literally, you have a ghost maker sitting right on your belt. How does controlling that kind of power and understanding that kind of power affect how you go about things in life? Does it change anything?
No, it's always there. Believe me, the last thing we ever want to do is use our weapon, and it's for deadly force, because that's what a gun is. It's for deadly force. It's for protection. So whether it be protecting me, my partner, or an innocent human being that just happened to be walking. I mean, it's a very, very important, especially these days, with what's going on, for protection. I mean.
Now, George, I really appreciate that you've taken the time today to meet with me and do this interview. This means the world to me, man. I really appreciate it. Can you tell me a little bit about how we got started and how we work together, and some of that? I just love working with you, man, and I don't get enough time to investigate with you.
Yeah, you're great, man. You come up with some great equipment, man. I was like, anything you bring is just awesome. But we started, I believe, here at City Hall. We came with a bunch of people. We investigated. We went through the basement, which was a very, very active, crazy area. Then, we just kept in touch. I guess that was 2010. And we just kept in touch, and ever since, it's been a pleasure, man. We don't do it enough. We don't investigate enough.
Isn't it a shame? Yeah.
You're busy. Your family, my family. We don't investigate enough as a group with my Paranormal 215 and Old City Paranormal team.
George, thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for taking part in Real Paranormal Television.
Thank you for the interview. It was great stuff, and come back anytime.
You got it, George. Thanks, man.
A couple months ago, I had the good fortune of hooking up and going to a really cool event out at Pennhurst Asylum. This place was off the hook. I mean, just an incredible location, just massive. And the people that were there were incredible. Friends for life. I just couldn't believe how many of the friends that I've had on Facebook that I was able to finally shake their hand in person and really connect and really, understand them as a human being as well as a good friend on Facebook. I mean, Facebook is fantastic, and let me tell you, I've met some of my best friends on Facebook. It's incredible. And it's because we share a common passion, a common interest. We're in this together. And most of all, we're all denizens here on this tiny rock in space. We got to work together to come up with answers, to come up with solutions to what we can do to not only help clients that we work with that have hauntings, but I mean as human beings, as people trying to understand our connection and correlation with the afterlife. It's very important how we live our life here and how we're going to survive into our death, if you know what I'm talking about. So when we're out investigating, remember, we're dealing with human beings for the most part. We got to find out what their story is. What happened to them? What do they need to tell us? What unfinished business hasn't been resolved? And that's something that's pretty incredible. We really need to buckle down, work together as a community, and I see a lot more of it going on. I see a lot of the fly-by-night teams just washing away, which is fantastic. I see good teams covering more area by merging and working together. That's incredible. Sharing resources, sharing friendships, and I'm not talking about everybody think the same or run around like a robot. I mean really good teams applying really good techniques, some applying science, some applying spirituality, some blend both. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And it's my honor to work with you guys out in the field.
Great. Well, first of all, Catherine's up on the top floor that way. It's a nurse. Pat.
looking around, yeah.
What's up, brother? Send it to me.
Sure. Cool. Anything I take a good look at.
Thanks. What's up, George?
Pennhurst was an incredible place. I highly recommend, if they offer a paranormal program or for you to get a chance to go up there and check it out, to go check it out. It's in a really nice town, beautiful location, and just massive. You'll love it. If you love big sites to work with, just like I do, Pennhurst is definitely up your alley. Thank you for watching another episode of Real Paranormal Television. I really appreciate your support, and I really appreciate all of your friendship and working with you guys in the field and palling around with you on Facebook and chatting with you on the phone and emailing each other and running into each other in places. It's the best. I love my paranormal community. I love my friends and family within it, and I really appreciate all the hard work you guys are putting in to make it the best it can be. Thanks, guys. Much love.
Real Paranormal Television.
Copy that.